My scientific research is actually done on the template of classical music.
What does Riyaz look like in science, actually? So I know what it looks like in sports, in music. What is the equivalent for a physicist or a scientist more generally?
Maths is like a language. There is some element of belief also in science.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Chat Masala. Today we have with us Dr. Sudhir Jain. Dr. Jain is a theoretical physicist, did his master's from IIT Delhi and then went to the Bhabha Atomic Research Centre. He has published multiple books and he explores not just physics but also policy, music, faith, and more. And we're going to get into all of that. Welcome, Dr. Jain. It's so wonderful to have you here with us. Dr. Jain was with us earlier today and was talking about how physics flows into so many of the arts. He was talking about the mathematics of Renaissance painting. So looking forward to getting into all of that. But let's begin with, what was your inspiration, Dr. Jain, for going into physics? Did you have a role model or was there an incident that sparked your journey?
So first of all, the pleasure is entirely mine. I had such wonderful meetings today, and meeting all of you is a beautiful place. There's a very lovely story of how I started doing science, doing physics. I was 14 and I was close to the summer vacation after the class 10th board exams, the long vacation. And an elder cousin of mine asked me, what is your plan about the summer vacation? I said, nothing, I don't know. He said, okay, I have a plan. So he said, you go to British Council Library. I was in Delhi and he gave me 15 rupees. And with those 15 rupees, I went to British Council Library, became a life member. That was a life membership fees in 1978. Okay. And then it was a very sophisticated place for me. I said, it was IFAX building close to the old Parliament House. I went on the first floor and I met this lady. I said, I want to become a life member. And she said, okay, 15 rupees. I said, yes, exact 15 rupees. Yeah. And then she said, now you can issue books. In that library, I had no idea. I was first time in a large library like that. I said, I don't know what to do in this place, but I just started randomly walking. I went up to some corner. There was some history, civilization. I said, my cousin got it wrong. He sent me in this place. And slowly I walked around and found a book called Nature of Matter. What was the qualification for that book? It was small, not very large. It had beautiful pages. They were glossy, nice pages, very nicely written. And I read a couple of sentences, seemed intelligible. So I issued that book and I started reading. And once I started reading, at that certain chapter, there was a talk about some calculus. I didn't know what to do with calculus. And then I turned to my cousin saying, what is calculus? And he taught me calculus just without a book, just by concepts. And in a month and a half, I was done with that book. I realized much later, many years later, that the author of that book was the person who discovered nuclear fission. The book was written by Otto Frisch. I didn't know who was Otto Frisch at the time, but the book was so lovely. I just took. And so, I realized that this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Amazing. That one library membership. Fantastic. You talked about nuclear fission. There are so many ways in which physics and science more generally have impacted history and society. What are some topics you would encourage everyone in the world, all young people, regardless of what they're pursuing academically? What should they know about physics, mathematics? What would you encourage?
This is a very good question. The important point for everyone is to develop a scientific temper. Taking a situation and talk about it in an intelligent manner. And to be able to do that, to see the merits of any situation, any concept, any social angle or scientific development, one needs to know sufficiently to discuss in an intelligent manner. Like I give these days talks to children, and I also say that at the end of that talk, that all of you should try to develop a political opinion of your own as you grow up. Similarly, a scientific opinion, a temper is important. And for that, everyone should be studying a little bit of science and mathematics. And these are different things. Maths is like a language. It's very critical to human thought. I mean, your thinking is almost impaired if you don't know enough mathematics. In the same way as your thinking is, or your communication is quite seriously impaired if you don't know at least one language very well. Similarly, if you want to understand a physical phenomena or a situation, the language for that is mathematics, but the concepts are in physics. So it's a skeleton of mathematical structures and concepts on which there is a flesh of physical concepts. It's the whole thing in a comprehensive manner that one has to understand. Some amount of familiarity there was necessary to make a worthwhile discussion, contribution, and no matter what one does, eventually everything is connected with each other. When you are sitting in a finance office, you want to make a decision, you want to know how the stocks are going up or down, or the foreign currency fluctuations, how are they going. You must understand these fluctuations are not random. How do they depend upon certain political forces, or are these purely statistical, mathematical statistical ideas? To be able to hire a statistician, you should know a little bit of statistics. Are these Gaussian random? Are they slightly skewed? And so on. So one needs to have some comprehension about physical and mathematical concepts, and the body of knowledge that one has built over centuries, how to use it effectively in our decision making, in our own development, in whatever pursuit we are in.
Got it. And I think you touched upon the philosophy of the liberal arts, because you mentioned that here are concepts from mathematics and physics, whether they're statistical in nature or more conceptual or philosophical, that can be applied in finance and business. I mean, if you're doing market research, the methodology is virtually identical to conducting research in physics or any of the sciences.
Absolutely.
So I think what I'd encourage all young viewers, whether they want to pursue the sciences or the social sciences or the humanities or the arts, is that a training in mathematics and physics to whatever level possible really gives you a set of conceptual frameworks that you can apply in a diversity of fields. And we see this. People major in physics and go on to finance, go on to a variety of business disciplines, computer science. Have you found that as well, that physics gives you this foundational training that can be applied to a diverse array of fields?
So many of my own personal experiences, one of the things that stands out in my mind is something I did for Jaslok Hospital many years ago. We had one of the leading neurologists of our country, Dr. Noshir Wadia, who was treating my father. And one day he asked me, "What do you do, Dikra?" Because he's a Parsi person. So I said, "I research in physics." He said, "Okay, I have a problem for you. So we have made measurements on eye saccades, the way you turn your eyes. I want you to write a program so that from the data we can actually measure the speed." And so I took up the challenge. I said, "Send me the data," and he sent me all the data. I made some studies about what is eye saccade, what is eye, etc., the physiology. You have to know physiology to be able to say something sensibly. And even now on the second floor of Jaslok Hospital, there is this program which was written in Fortran language at that time, which still is used by those people to measure eye saccades. And it's fascinating to be doing that kind of thing. Similarly, some of my former students have gone into tensor networks, something which quantum computing people do, and application of that in risk management and for stocks and shares at the Wall Street.
Wow.
So first student of mine who was an intern is a lead in Google for special effects in Hollywood movies.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, he did his research with me on a special problem in quantum chaos. But then he studied a lot of theoretical physics. And I asked him, "Why are you doing this?" Because you are a computer graphics student. What's the point? He said, oh yes, computer graphics is based on physics-based simulations.
Wow, I never made this connection before because you need to make special effects look realistic. So you
Yes.
need to understand the nuances
Absolutely.
of optics, motion,
Absolutely.
everything. Okay.
And
nice.
so he said, I want to understand this. So he studied very seriously, very nicely. And he eventually did his PhD at Stanford with Ron Fatque. Ron Fatque is the person who won Oscar Awards for Transformers and Poseidon. Ron is a professor of computer science at Stanford and is a winner of 2 Oscar Awards. And
Wow.
this student did
He's
his
a PhD.
with Ron Fatque, and his PhD time research was supported by Pixar Animation Studios.
Unbelievable. Oh, we
And
love
so
Pixar here.
It's beautiful. So the ideas of physics and mathematics, I think, they're very powerful. They are used almost everywhere, and people just will enjoy because it's just such beautiful questions that emerge. More than science, it's also culturally enriching to be doing all these things.
What do you mean by that? Culturally enriching.
I have this very difficult question that I ask myself and also ask others, that there are things we find very beautiful. Like there is a certain flower, yellow of daffodils. It's remarkable, that yellow color is indescribable. You can imagine, you can talk about it. Why do we find something beautiful? There are sometimes certain patterns which are not very regular or something, but they still seem beautiful. What is beautiful about it? Sometimes we see certain dresses on which some random patterns are there, and we say, oh, how beautiful is it? If you ask yourself a question, what is so beautiful? Can you kind of quantify this beauty? It's very hard to quantify. What is beauty? So whatever we do, we as people are always trying to look for beautiful things because we love that. We grew up like that. We are somehow after truth. At somewhere, some corner of our mind, we are always searching for some truth, something which stays. It gives us, I think, mental peace and stability, that we found something which stays with time. This will remain true. We can base our thoughts on this. Something so beautiful, so very nice. So this is what I mean by culturally interesting. But to appreciate all this, you need a matrix of maths, concepts, music, literature, psychology, so many things which sort of get together to support truth and beauty for you.
Got it. How can high school students start this journey? Because I think the popular conception is that to do physics research, to conduct physics research, you need a swanky lab. To viewers who may not have that opportunity, how can they get started exploring the music of the cosmos? I hope you're enjoying this episode of Chat Masala. Before we move on with this insightful conversation, please be sure to subscribe and follow us so we can continue expanding our minds together.
To give a convincing, truthful answer, I have to resort to my own personal experiences because there I can talk convincingly. When I was in class 10th, we had a vocational subject and I took photography for that. I still love photography, taking pictures.
There's physics there too.
Yeah, I didn't think so much about it.
Okay.
I loved photography. And, believe me, with the help of my younger sister and my younger brother, we had a room at our home where we built a dark room and I built a projector, and we used to put blankets to cover the windows when we developed the films, the roll films, and we put bromide papers and actually took printouts ourselves in our home with minimal money or resources. There was nothing. It was still possible, and I was only 14. And if I could do it, anybody can do it. Then we went into college. So in college, we had old volumes of Scientific American and bound volumes, and I used to turn pages, didn't understand anything. This was far too complicated. Then there was a section called Amateur Scientist, written by Gerald Walker. Gerald Walker wrote those sections saying that these are the experiments you can conduct in daily life using day-to-day material which is available at your home, at your American home, not Indian home. So when I when I used to read some of those things, I said, well, I mean, this is not available here. So we have to make an adaptation. And there are many experiments we could actually adapt and actually conduct those experiments. So it's not so hard. There are resources. People should be motivated. And the young folks, G.L. Walker now has a website. At that time, there was not even a computer, no internet, nothing. Now there is a website of G.L. Walker. His papers are available and people can read them or other papers, and they still contain wealth of information about experiments which can be done easily. But to explain those experiments will be so challenging, and it will pave the way for their life in whatever they wish to do. So they could still do it.
Amazing. You've also been involved at the policy level, if I'm not mistaken, in terms of how do we promote scientific research across India. What have been your experiences there, and how do you see Indian research developing in the coming years?
Right. So I was very lucky that from 1999 to 2002 or 3, for 4 years, I was assisting Dr. Raja Ramanna. He was the Rajya Sabha member at that time. Raja Ramanna is one of the leading pioneers of atomic energy research and peaceful nuclear experiments. And he was concerned with many ideas of education, how education is developing in various states. At that time, I remember that we had data from the state of Karnataka and how the schools are doing, how is the funding given to them, and what is the use of all that. And they were sometimes very despairing reports. So a lot has been done to improve all that. Similarly, University Grants Commission, when they had a decision for making new central universities, then the central universities, we have to make a draft proposal, which central universities, what should we do with them. So things have gone a long way. I mean, every state has a central university now, except Maharashtra, more than one. There are so many IITs, there are so many IIMs, there are IIITs. The education institutions have grown. And the major important thing is that there are many private players who have got into education. And that is also very important because they have their own angle. So it's not constrained by government. Sometimes there are passions that people have and they would like to bring those passions live. I think there are many private universities, your own place and some other places. I think these are also very good signs, very healthy signs for Indian science and culture.
Kind of switching gears a little bit, you're also a very proficient musician. I know you will deny that, but can you talk about the role of music in a scientist's life? I'm reminded of the fact that even Einstein used to play the violin, and that was a sort of extracurricular inspiration to his work. How does it work for you?
This question I have been asked many times, and my answer is always the same. For me, music is so important. My scientific research is actually done on the template of classical music.
Wow, you have to break that down. How?
That's what I do. So all my students, when they come and work with me, the rigors that they go through are in the style of classical music.
How so? What are the parallels between the two?
So they have to do the fundamentals very deeply, repeatedly, and break threadbare. No stone unturned, nothing, no uncertainty. When you are in music, you're still performing art. In performing art, you are on stage, and there is no eraser on stage. In research, you can one day, make all mistakes and say that, okay, today was a bad day. Now tomorrow we'll see. In performing art, there is no such thing. On the stage, you have to get everything right.
Correct.
So for 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever is the length of your performance, every sur has to be correct. And the beauty or intensity of that truth is immediately visible to everyone who is listening, whether they are trained in music or not.
Wow.
And similarly, when you do science, you talk about your science in whatever way you do, your choice of words, examples, metaphors, illustrations, they immediately tell how much time have you spent with these ideas or not. So you have to do a very thorough job. So in scientific research, all my students, they, after some time, I'm sure they must be really tired of me. And then I'm also very happy that most of my students have still stayed in touch with me. And so somewhere, even if they were tired or whatever, but perhaps they realized that this was the way to do it.
Would love to get more inputs to the teachers listening, as well as all of us. Any guidance you have for teachers, mentors, coaches? What are some principles and techniques that guide you, that you found work very effectively over the years?
So I don't want to be presumptuous that I was a good mentor. I was a good teacher, but I can only share what I believe is important. First of all, I think I have just so much confidence in the young people. I always believe that they are better than me. They can all surpass me. I have no question, no doubt in my mind about that. And I also have a lot of love for young people. And I think in my class, when I teach or when people meet me, somehow they feel that. I think that's very important. So you're very sensitive about each and every person, each and every student in a different way. Every child, every student is different. There's no comparison. There's no comparison between a rose and a marigold. And so there is no comparison between students, between people. So all are beautiful people. And so we have to bring out the best in them. So we have to talk to them, to relate to them, and find what is the best thing for them. And you hold a conversation, and slowly things come out, and they say things. And from there, as an elder partner in conversation, you should be able to figure out that this is a good thing. This is a good thing that you should do or not do, or this or that. And then encourage them. They won't succeed next day. They will probably not succeed next month, 2 months. But people have stayed with me for years, and there are so many people who have written their first papers of their life with me. And so for them, it's unforgettable because that was their first research paper published in journals. So I think it's not so difficult. If one has patience and a lot of confidence, a lot of love, one should never get angry, of course. That's just not allowed. One should be always forgiving, and to oneself and to all, and be peaceful, and then everything happens automatically. You don't have to do anything. It's like music. If you sit quietly and you know what you are doing, all the swars just keep coming one by one, and you don't do it. It just happens, and you just enjoy. So it's the same in research, same in music, same in any writing. Anybody who writes, it's just automatic. They don't sit down to think or sit down to write. They just end up writing.
But sir, doesn't that only happen once you've spent 2, 3, 4 decades mastering your craft? Only then can you sit and say, oh, something will flow through me. But for young people starting out, you mentioned like you need to do your riyaz, you need to train systematically. So how do you balance those two of like, you need to put in effort, ensure no stone is unturned, be rigorous, be thorough, at the same time, almost take a step back and let things happen. So this seems to be a contradiction. How do you reconcile them?
See, I think it's a very beautiful question. One has to practice every day. I do riyaz now also every day, 1 hour in the morning. I do yoga in the morning. The yoga that I learned in 1970, I still do it. But then you can only do so much. Right? You can cook, you can do this, that, etc., whatever. But then one need not push oneself. One is not in control with everything in this world. And one doesn't need to control, first of all. And one is not in control. So there is no stress. There is nothing that one is trying to prove to anybody, including oneself. One is only doing what needs to be done. So you need to do riyaz, you need to work hard, and you need to keep thinking, and then let it be. You will write your story, maybe not so impressive on a certain day, maybe more interesting words next day, solve a problem and publish and keep going. The contradiction is there if you put in some stress. You want to do it, don't do anything. There are many times when I tell, some people ask me, how do you do this and that? I say, don't do anything. I just let it be. They say, ye kaise ho sakta hai? But this is the truth.
So I think what I'm hearing, and tell me if I'm wrong, is you just focus on the process. Riyaz is process, right? You're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. But every morning, riyaz, whatever that may be in your particular
music,
domain.
Science, math, whatever it is. Whatever it is.
That's interesting.
Cooking,
so I think,
whatever.
I think everyone needs to think about what does riyaz look like in their domain. If you're an athlete, it's training, it's drills.
Exactly, right.
What does riyaz look like in science, actually? So I know what it looks like in sports, in music. What is the equivalent for a physicist or a scientist more generally?
So in physics, we have concepts, we have ideas, and you have a level of understanding when you learn it first time. What is energy? So everybody says energy, we know energy. And I say, can we define energy? So energy is the capacity to do work. I say, no. Suppose I don't do, and let's keep the work out and let's still talk about energy. Can we do that? Can we define energy? You slowly realize that you can't define energy. You say that, but I use this concept all the time. I can't define it. Then slowly you come to the conclusion that I actually cannot define it. So then what is the point of using a concept you can't define? So you don't need to define it. You just need to understand that this is a concept, this is something that is always conserved. Like currency. When currency is introduced, the whole currency of a country or something, the total of that is conserved. Money given to a child is fixed. This is the money you have, you can do whatever with it. So you can do this or that, but the sum of all that is going to remain the same. Energy has a similar role. It has a functional role. It helps organizing concepts and doing things. So as I'm making this conversation, I hope to be making clear the layers in our understanding which grow as we talk about energy from one day to the other for months, years, as we grow older. There's a riyaz about the concept. How deeply have you revisited the concept and how well you understand, and at a certain level you give up. You say that we see whatever is understanding, it will come to us.
Got it. So riyaz is understanding simple things deeply.
Revisiting
them.
Doing problems, analyzing this situation, that situation. Like in a rag, if you pick up a rag, you have a certain bandish in a certain rag, you are not satisfied with it. You want to look at some other bandish with that. So you take another bandish to that. Then you go to a dhamar or a dhrupad, then you want to see again in that rag what is happening. There is a film song based on that rag. You want to see, oh yeah, these guys, it was a very nice, very interesting combination of swaras for the same rag. And as you keep doing that, you sort of enrich yourself. Riyaz is a process of enriching yourself with concepts which are there, making a body of knowledge, which makes more and more sense. And you reach a limit when it defines you. then that is how you are. Your whole self is not important. What you talk, what you do is the only thing which is important. How you look and how you dress, this is completely irrelevant exterior. That's what Riyaz is in every sense.
Amazing. And this concept extends across domains, music, physics, in sports. The legends across every sport are those who really focus on the fundamentals.
Yes.
You know, Federer is working on core strength, things that other people would think, oh, I mean, we're beyond this, you're beyond this, but it's really going deeper.
Yeah. You see Rafa Nadal coming back after his injury, etc. Just 2 days back. I mean, he lost his last match, but the match he played before with Kabali was amazing. It's the training of years and years, and man is so humble. It's just, there's nothing. It's just very simply just playing and going away. If you lose, it's okay. If you win, it's okay.
Amazing. He just loves playing. Love it. We talked a little bit earlier today about Jainism and faith. Speaking of reconciling seeming opposites, science is the pursuit of truth, and with faith, it seems like you don't pursue truth, you accept it. So many people might feel that they're mutually exclusive. How would you respond to that?
So this question is a bit complicated because there are so many religions, and I can only speak in the context of Jainism, which I understand a little bit. In Jainism, we have virtues. We have Lakshan, virtues starting from forgiveness. There's no contradiction at all in following virtues and be virtuous, pursuit to be virtuous. At that level, at a philosophical level, I think there is no contradiction of any religion with science. Then we come to practices. In practices, I don't mind doing some little practices of religion, all right. Then we come to faith, to believe something. Before really discovering electrons, we have talked about electrons for more than half century. Nobody had seen electrons. If we put a condition that unless you show me the electron, I'm not going to work on it, we would have been completely behind in scientific research.
So people conceptualize the electron before there's any visual evidence.
There's no visual evidence which is the direct evidence of the electron. There is a model of atom which was correct in the sense that many other things were consistent with that. So you believe that this must be correct. You continue with that. For not 2 years, 3 years, you continue there for 50 years, 60 years. And then eventually one day you find that, we found an electron. Okay, good. Similarly, quarks. When they were proposed, some people were thinking that, what are you talking about? Charge is quantized. Here you are talking about things which have 1/3 of charge and minus 2/3 of electron charge. I mean, give a break. It's not possible. But they said that no, there is evidence. We think this should be there. Went on with that. They built accelerators, spending billions and billions of dollars, and eventually found evidence of quarks. There's a Nobel Prize for that. All right. People believe that Einstein was wrong in saying that challenging quantum mechanics. Einstein said that, your theory of quantum physics is such that it assumes sort of things like teleportation, which is impossible. People said, Einstein had problem with this. And eventually, what was called as a paradox in Einstein's time turned out to be a phenomenon of our time. And we are using teleportation in technology today. There is some element of belief also in science. And if we stay downright honest and not try to post ourselves as the beagles of objectivity, and also, I mean, in some sense, if some faith or belief helps somebody psychologically, there is no contradiction. If it helps a person to do rest of the things very nicely, it's okay.
Yeah, got it.
Nobody's asking you to say that, no, you must believe in rebirth and now show that there is rebirth or not. No way to say this way or the other about that.
Perfect. Lovely. And we end always with rapid fire questions. So just your immediate reaction. Do you think we are alone in the universe, or do aliens exist?
No, we are not alone.
Okay, that's what I think too. Okay, lovely. If you could travel back in time, what discovery would you like to be a part of, or what would you like to witness?
I would like to witness the conversation of Einstein and Gödel, that the 70th birthday of Einstein, Gödel presented a solution of Einstein's equation which goes back in time.
Wow. You want to attend that birthday party? That's
Yes.
a legendary birthday party.
Yes.
What do you think is the biggest misconception people have about physics?
That it's difficult.
Yeah, well, what's one value you hold dear?
Truthfulness.
Building off that, what's something you know now that you wish you knew when you were 20?
I need to work hard on the basics.
Lovely. And finally, what's one change you would love to see in the world in a decade, around 2035?
In Indian context, I would like very much that people work as a team in an effective manner without putting their personal good in front and having a global good in front. And for that, at all times, I just wish that this happens in our country.
Dr. Jain, it's been an enlightening conversation. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
sharing with us.
Thank you.